Welcome, dear friends, at Cardiac Radio at 11 p.m. We're here to nourish your soul with new teachings of Spiritism. Today, we're going to be studying on the book Evolution into Worlds, which has come about in English. Exactly. And today, we're studying chapter 1. Yesterday, we had the opportunity of introducing this book to you in the prefaces by Emmanuel and André Luiz. Evolution into Worlds is a book authored by André Luiz, the same spirit author that wrote other books like No Solar, The Messengers, Missionaries of the Light, In the Greater World, and so on and so forth. Of 13 books about life in the spiritual realm, André Luiz wrote specifically 2 of those books through 2 mediums, Chico Xavier and Valdo Vieira. They were living in 2 different cities in the state of Minas Gerais. A 5-hour drive dictated the distance between both Pedro Leopoldo, where Chico Xavier was, and Uberaba, where Valdo Vieira was. Later on, Valdo Vieira and Chico Xavier were in the same city past the publication of these books. But the books, Evolution into World and Mechanisms of Mediumship, are true phenomena in the human literature because we have 2 mediums who do not talk to each other about the contents and receive the message of even and odd chapters in their respective mediumistic meetings in 2 different days. Chico Xavier was receiving the chapters while being the mediumistic meeting Pedro Leopoldo on Sundays and Valdo Vieira on Wednesdays. And thus came about the book Evolution into Worlds. So yesterday we were studying the preface. Remember, Emmanuel reminds us that this book comes to life to awaken in us, he says in his own annotation, as he said himself. He said to us that in his own annotation, the book comes to awaken in us notions of immortality. So our goal during this day was to feel ourselves as immortal spirits. So everything we do, we recall that we're here temporarily and that one day we'll be back home and that we cannot waste time chatting with colleagues during lesson time, that we cannot spend our time just playing and have fun, that we need to learn to have fun while serving. Yes, true service is fun and it's worthwhile doing it. Now, André Luiz himself explained to us in his preface as an observation to the reader. He says to us that this book is not for scientists. No. But Vanessa, it's filled with science. I agree with you. But it's a simple summary that tells us about the evolution of ourselves. This book is about you and I. It's about ourselves, how we came about, how we came to the level that we are. And he says quite clearly that this book comes to console us. It comes so we appreciate the multi-millenary pilgrimage that we have been living in true appreciation for the loving and kind God in our lives, in our destiny towards the stars. Are you ready for today's chapter? Because today we're going to be studying chapter 1. Chapter 1 is titled Cosmic Fluid. What is he going to talk about? I'm not going to read the chapter to you, but excerpts and highlights. But I will show to you slides with pictures that shall foster greater understanding on how we are feeling the scripture. Remember, this is not about simple knowledge, my friends. It's about feeling. Okay? So, Andre Luiz, in great synchronicity with Kardec's works, he begins from the beginning. What is question number 1 in the Spirit's book by Kardec? It's about God. He begins talking about our own evolution from the very beginning. God. So let us go there and check it out. Chapter 1, Cosmic Fluid. Here we have it. In this cosmic fluid, we're going to be starting with the divine plasma, followed by co-creation in a greater plane, stellar empires, our galaxy, atomic forces, light and heat, co-creation in a lesser plane. He begins by telling us about the divine plasma. Like you're seeing this movable picture, the cosmic fluid is the divine plasma, the Creator's breath or the nervous force of the All-Wise. In that primordial element, constellations and suns, worlds, and beings vibrate and live like fish in the ocean. Wow. We should stop. No, we have to stop to meditate about this, right? So let us meditate a little bit about what we're seeing here. He's talking about the fact that we, the divine plasma, we are here, and let me share with you here the screen. The divine plasma here with us, what it is. The cosmic fluid is the divine plasma, the Creator's breath. And he says to us that we are like fish in the ocean, and the ocean being this divine plasma, the cosmic fluid. So we live within without being part of God. That's the difference between the Spiritist thought and the thought of our philosophies that think that we are part of God in the sense that we are gods in the very sense of the word. No, of the word, we're not. That doesn't make any sense because we're mutable. God is not. We're changeable. God is not. But we are immersed in the emanation of God. How does that happen? We don't know yet, but we know we do. So there is this emanation, the divine emanation, and we live in this divine emanation like fish in the ocean. In that primordial element. So he gives us several different expressions and terms to make sure that we understand the concept of the cosmic fluid. He says cosmic fluid, divine plasma, Creator's breath, nervous force, primordial element. In one paragraph he said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 synonyms to explain to us so we make sure that we feel it. Do you feel you are immersed in this divine plasma? To give us an idea, think about in an analogy, the baby in the womb of the mother and the umbilical connection with the mother. The mother being God and the child being us. We are immersed in that very body. Okay? So for us, it's about feeling it. I think André Luiz is not telling us this just out of knowledge. As he said in the preface, he is facilitating our feeling. Can you feel it? Can you feel yourself? Close your eyes. Like God being the ocean, the divine breath of God, and we immersed in that emanation, immersed in the emanation of God. The baby is not the mother. The mother is not the baby. Right? We are not God. God is not us. But we are divine. And we are immersed in the emanation of God, the cosmic fluid, the divine plasma. Do you remember when we studied chapter 1 of the book, the Spirit's book by Kardec? When he talks about the elements of the universe, and he says, there are two main elements, the material principle, the spiritual principle. Connecting them, the fluid, the cosmic fluid. And many people are lost, like, well, if there are only two elements, what is this cosmic fluid? Well, cosmic fluid is the very emanation of God. The divine plasma that André Luiz is telling us today. Okay? So he's talking about the beginning of all things. And later, so let us go back to the slides. And I hope you are seeing, because I'm now going to show a new slide. If you're not seeing this, please type it in here and let me know if you cannot see it. Hopefully, you will. Okay, so here we are. The divine plasma. That's where it all begins. Then next, says André Luiz to us, the co-creation at a greater plane. He says to us the following. Okay. In this original substance, the divine plasma, under the influx of the Supreme Lord himself, divine intelligences operate aggregated to him in the process of indestructible communion. Wow. These are the great devas in the Hindu theology, or the archangels of the interpretation of various religious temples. They draw from this spiritual breath the barns of energy with which they build the systems of immensity in service of co-creation at a greater plane, according with the designs of the All-Merciful that makes them guiding agents of the excelsior creation. And he explains, these glorious energy intelligences take the divine plasma and convert it in cosmic habitations of multiple expressions. These habitations last for millennia and millennia, but they wear out and are finally transformed once the created spirit can form and co-create. But only God is the creator of all eternity. So here we have André Luiz explaining to us that as we evolve to higher levels, he's going to say here to us, divine intelligences are in such communion that they take this primordial element, this creator's breath, this divine plasma, this cosmic fluid, and create planets, cosmic habitations of multiple expressions, he says. And he says to us that these will last for millennia, but one day they will wear out and be transformed. Okay? Because the only thing that can last or really create is God. All right? So let us think about this. Now they expand to the understanding of stellar empires. Of course, we cannot talk about the creation without talking about the creation of the universe. And he says, due to the work of these major architects, stellar organizations arise in galaxies as vast continents of the universe in evolution, as well as intergalactic nebulae as immense dominion of the universe, and in the evolution in potential state. All of them gravitate around the attractive points with admirable coordinated uniformity. So he says that there is also a celestial engineering that balances rotation and mass, harmonizing energy and movement. Okay, I'll make a pause here because I know sometimes it's, whew, breathe. It's a lot, right? I agree. But at the end of the day, we're talking about 4 paragraphs that he mentioned here. I didn't read all of them. But what is he saying to us? He's saying that God created, gave us the clay of life, okay? And he says, go create. Like a father, a mother to a child, an educator, saying, go, use the Play-Doh and play, okay? But as we grow to higher levels, we create in a greater plane, we're co-creating with God planets, stars, galaxies, stellar empires, as he says. So now he talks about functions in the universe that probably we never thought about. Major architects and celestial engineers. Have you thought about this? No. If you thought you would ever end, you know, this life saying, oh, I don't know what else to study, think about the future. Celestial engineering, enrolling to study celestial engineering, cosmic architecture. Can you believe it? Huh? Right? Thank you, Daisy, for sharing it. So think about this, okay? If you feel that there are architects, engineers of the beyond who are in charge of the creation in a greater plane. So next time we feel, oh, my life doesn't go forward. I'm lost, I'm abandoned. Think that there are divine intelligences working hard. When I see people sometimes being desperate, oh my gosh, our planet, global warming. Say, of course we should be responsible and take charge, but we're not alone. There is a time in which there is a limit for our free will. Okay? Our free will is not that free. It's not like free running. No, no, no. There's a limit. And we understand it when we study the law of freedom in Kardec's Spirit's book. The Spirit's book by Kardec, third part, when he talks about the law of freedom, he asks, when are we absolutely free in our thought, but not in our co-creation? There is a limit. There is the limit of the other ones. Okay? So there is a moment in which many things will no longer be allowed on the earth. And I know there are many people who don't like the word discipline and order. But in the book Action and Reaction by André Luiz, in the second chapter, he begins the chapter by saying that order is the basis of charity. So many people who think that to be loving and kind is to be in anarchy, in free reign, they are not playing the laws of God. Everything is under a law. I don't think there is democracy in the universe. There is what we call theocracy. God rules. And God rules with love. So democracy is an invention of the human mind on earth, because it actually doesn't exist. And we're not talking about politics. We're just saying that we need to love our duties. To be dutiful is something that is saying in the Gospel according to Spiritism. And I know the books may fall apart as I pick them up, but in the Gospel according to Spiritism, there is a chapter in which we learn about being dutiful. And for us, says André Luiz also in the book After Death, that to progress, we need to learn how to love being dutiful. It's beautiful to fulfill our duties. It must create joy in our hearts. And if it doesn't yet, it shows how far we are in our evolution. For many people on earth who has a true aversion for order and discipline, those people are far in the scale of evolution, because the more we evolve, the more we love our duties, to fulfill the laws, to appreciate it all. Read the hierarchy of spirits in the Spirits book. Kardec explains to us that the higher we progress, the more dutiful we are. And to give us a better highlight in the book After Death, I just opened precisely. Carol is here with us, and she surprised me too. Chapter 43, After Death. Duty refers to the totality of morals, laws, prescriptions. And he says that our duties are not identical. They are according to our elevation. And he says this: the more we elevate ourselves, the more duties gain greatness, majesty, and scope to our eyes. So this thing of a hippie society, peace and love, do whatever you like, is not according to the laws of God. We need to love and appreciate serving, working for God, with God, and to God. And you may be asking, but Vanessa, what does this have to do with what André Luiz is saying? Well, he's saying that these divine intelligences are in indestructible communion with God. And Jesus is one of them. He said, I am here to fulfill God's will. So the day I wake up feeling I'm going to fulfill God's will, our lives will transform completely. I will no longer feel like I don't want to do it. I don't like it. I'm going to say, God, if you want me to do it, I'll do it. And I'll do it with my heart. And I will not postpone it. Right? So, he says to us that there are these spirits, mark it down, major architects, celestial engineers who are taking care of it all. So next time you think about the earth, think, how can I help these spirits that are in charge of our planet? How can I help? So the other day I saw in the news that a man in the city of São Paulo, in 5 years, he planted thousands of trees. And then he transformed a whole area of a city by planting the trees on his own. Now we have 25,000 trees where there were only 13 to 15. He transformed the whole area, the environment, boosting not only the quality for humans, but for all the kingdoms of nature. That person is in synchronicity with those of higher co-creation that are taking care of our planet as well. So I'll give you a challenge as homework for me too in the next 24 hours. Let us observe this. How am I? That's the question for all of us. How am I in synchronicity with the good and loving architects and engineer of the beyond regarding our planet? Let us meditate on our recycling. Let us meditate on how we are helping with the mental pollution, our co-responsibility. Let us think about how we can engage in being more environmentally friendly in all of our actions. Shall we? That's a challenge for all of us. Thinking of the higher spirits that are working day in, day out, and they count on us to partake in this journey. Shall we, friends? Now let's go back to our beautiful slides that shall lead us into greater understanding. Okay? So, we studied the stellar empires. Okay? Now, we would like to study the next topic. Let me just check it out here and see. Hold on, friends. I'm just double checking the system to see if it's working for you as much as it's working for me here. All right, wait a second. Let's check it out. Okay, so let us see here. We're going to study right now. No, he went back. As Daisy said, he went back. So let me, okay. It's about our galaxy now. And I hope you can see it. I don't know why it's not showing. It is now. It's showing to you, right? Hopefully it will show to you. Okay. Let's check it out. It's about our galaxy. Now Luiz is going to talk to us about our galaxy as a city. He says, so we can somehow form an idea about the inconceivable magnitude of creation. We compare our galaxy. Let's see what happened here. We compare our galaxy Sorry, friends, I'm just trying to make sure that you're seeing what I am seeing here. Okay. Our galaxy as a city. Using far-reaching instruments from our study room, we realize that our home is not the most humble, but innumerable others outperform its expressions of magnitude and beauty. He says something else. Taking the sun and the world as neighboring apartments of our building, we recognize that around there appear other buildings in all directions. And he says, and there are other buildings that are much bigger, as if they were palaces and skyscrapers, as the galaxy of Betelgeuse, okay, in the district of Orion, Canopus, and I'm just showing to you NASA pictures of what they are, in the region of Argonavis, Arcturus, another one, and then you can see how big it is compared to our sun. It's enormous, ginormous. Antares, in the heart of Scorpion, as you can see here, okay? Take a look and you see, right? Thank you, Daisy, thank you. So it shows to us our sun, how tiny, an orange star, Arcturus, the Antares as the red giant. So here we have these comparisons, and he says, there are millions of homes, and André Luiz is just giving us a measure about where we are in the universe. As important as we are, there is so much more. And that's a good exercise in humility. The more we study about the universe, life, we have a better feeling about ourselves and the greatness of God. Some people ask me, Vanessa, how do I practice humility? I say, I am learning. I am learning, so I cannot give you a final answer. But as far as the spirits tell us, if we observe nature, we're going to more easily practice humility and feel the proof of God's creation, okay? As in it's stated in the Spirit's book. Now, inevitably, as he talks about the macro, he's talking he's talking about the micro. Now he goes to the microscopic forces, not even microscopic because they are so tiny. He talks about atomic forces. And of course, nowadays we talk about subatomic forces, but this is not outdated at all because he talks about it in some way and form. And he says here to us, before I go over what's in your slide, I want to say what André Luiz repeats to us. All this wealth of plasma, let us observe the word he uses, wealth of plasma, abundance, okay? Abundance of plasma. In the roles of creation, stands at the foundation of corpuscles, under radiation of mind corpuscles, and radiations that in the current state of our knowledge. Although we are outside the physical plane, we cannot define the multiplicity and the configuration of it all. So he cannot explain other details but to tell us that under the guidance of superior intelligences, atoms foregather in immense beehives. Under spiritually directed pressure of electromagnetic waves, intra-atomic spatial areas are controllably reduced without losing motion, so they become dense nuclear mass from which are sculpted planets in whose bosom celestial monads find appropriate cradle for development. Mamma Mia, what is he talking about? He's talking about us. Yes, he's talking about the evolution of the spirit. And he talks about the divine agents in the next paragraph, saying guidelines that were given by the divine agents, creating celestial dwellings for these just born spiritual principles. When he says here celestial monads, he's talking about the spiritual principle. Okay? Do we have babysitters? That's what he's talking about. He's saying that you and I were created with so much love, superior intelligences guided by God, planning and helping God since the first steps, way before we were humans. Way before. Okay? Way before. And creating cradles for our development and controlling temperature, pressure, and everything else. So how can we dare to feel alone and abandoned and put aside, and we no longer can feel this way? That's why André Luiz said that this book comes to us as an opportunity to be consoled. Think about these divine agents, the superior intelligences that are taking care of everything. Just to give us more understanding of it all, he talks about light and heat. Light and heat. Okay? And he says, the worlds or fields of soul development. Pause. You're going to say, no, Vanessa, don't pause now. I will pause. I will pause. Because now he talks about something that is unprecedented. The world is a field of soul development. So this house that we call planet Earth was created for us, for our development. How can we be at any point ungrateful? This book makes us appreciate life, makes us appreciate ourselves even more, makes us appreciate God's creation, His loving care. You see why André Luiz is not writing this book for scientists. He's writing to humans. I'm not saying scientists are not humans, but he's not writing for a category of thinkers. He's writing to you and to me. He's writing to all of us. He's writing so we understand the beauty of our lives. So, planet Earth was created so we develop ourselves. How can we dare not to feel it, my friends? How can we? Right? So let me double check here what's going on with the slides. Mamma mia, what's going on here? Come on, my friend. Come in. Let me see. Yep. Let me go back to the slides so you can see it all much better. So he says the worlds or fields of soul development with its various tracks of varied expression of vibration, and to the influx of the spiritual tutors. They are cherished by rays of light and heat, not to mention forces of other nature that are sent by the cosmic space onto the earth and human beings in order to assure them stability and existence. So think about this. Now he's giving us another category of spirits that are taking care of it all. Spiritual tutors. That means that you and I are under the care of these spiritual tutors. Did you know it? No, but now you know it. And that means that we needed to be more mindful of their presence. I would recommend, as Mentor Joseph recommends to us often, says, next time you're lost, not feeling well, raise your thoughts to the good spirits and ask, what do you want me to do to help you? Because they are the ones who have the divine plan at hand, and we are still growing into it. So if we're humble enough to just surrender to it all and say, I will fulfill it just because I love being dutiful and I am learning how to fulfill my duties. So spiritual tutors, divine intelligences, God Almighty that sends these messengers, let me help. And he's saying that the light and the heat in our planet, they are emanated by these spiritual tutors. And then you say, but Vanessa, how does that happen? Go back to the Spirit's book by Kardec. There is a footnote, okay, in which he says that in the sun meets divine intelligences, pure spirits, their beautiful thoughts radiate, and the byproduct of it all is the light and the heat that comes to the earth. So next time you look at the sun, think about the loving spirits, the divine tutors, the spiritual tutors. Right, Liebe Moraes? So true. That's why Emmanuel often recommended to Chico, wake up with the sunrise. And it's in one of André Luiz' books as well, the recommendation. Put yourself forward in facing the sun that is rising and in an attitude of surrender, say, may in this day, I fulfill my divine duties as you are. May I fulfill my divine duties as you do, telling the divine tutors. What about us? You may be asking. This is where our dear André Luiz starts to tell us about where we are. We are co-creators in a lesser plane. Okay? It's the plan of co-creation in a lesser plane. What is it? We're learning to co-create our spiritual and physical bodies. How so? He says, on a similar basis, the human intelligences, us, that are at our level, use the same cosmic fluid, which is in constant movement in the universe, for the co-creation in a lesser plane. Okay? So, they assimilate the corpuscles of matter with, hold on a second, friends, with their own spiritual energy, thus, okay, hold on, forming the physiopsychosomatic, okay? So this is us, friends. This is us. This is us here learning that we use this divine plasma to create our perispirit and consequently our physical body. Did you know that you do it? Yes, but we do. We're co-creators. Without noticing, we're doing it. So we go back here. We're gonna see that our dear André Luiz is reminding us of the beauty of our own co-creation, so we be more mindful of it all. Let me go back here since the slides have put a pause on us. I don't know why we're still seeing the same slide. It's probably a glitch of the system. But Andre Luiz is telling us that by using the universal cosmic fluid, we are seeing, we are creating our physiopsychosomatic vehicle. Okay? And through that, civilizations happen in the world. And thus we create, he says, our darkened infernal purge generated by unbalanced or criminal minds, or we're going to create better things. These are agglutinations of short duration under the same principle of command in which the major intelligences shape the larger microscopic buildings that defy the passage of millennia. Meaning that our creations are in some way temporary. Okay? They are temporary. So for us now, it's a question. How are you co-creating? How are we co-creating in our lesser plane? Are we co-creating health or are we co-creating disease? What are we doing? Are we co-creating health or are we co-creating disease, my friends? That's an important question for us to ask before we move forward. We cannot. Okay, I know what is happening here. Okay, I figured out probably. That's what it is. Okay, hopefully. Hold on, friend. Okay, so here we are asking ourselves, how are we co-creating? Are we co-creating health or not? Or illnesses? Are we co-creating beauty or are we co-creating true health? And you may be asking, but Vanessa, how do I co-create true health? Well, go to the Spirit's book again. You want me to read it for you? I will read it for you. If you go to the end of the book, the Spirit's book has 1019 questions and answers, right? If you go to the very last chapter, the last questions, it talks about the definition of heaven and hell and purgatory. So let me go there to give you a precise answer of what it says. It starts in question and answer 1012 and it goes on and goes hand in hand with what we're saying, because he says here that we create with our minds the happiness or unhappiness, okay, that we are envisioning. And then later, the purgatory, and later on, the hell. So let me get to you. Hell. I know nobody wants to talk about hell, but we want to talk about it. So, hell. Hell may be translated. This is answering question 1014 in the Spirit's book. Hell may be translated as meaning a life of extremely painful trials, with the uncertainty that it will ever end. So if I am living a life feeling like the uncertainty is never going to go away, you're living hell. In hell right now. It doesn't happen in the afterlife. But Vanessa, we don't know many things, so we're always going to be in hell. No, it depends. The Spiritist teachings, they bring to us the good news. When Jesus came to bring us the good news, hell disappears. And you know, I wish I had a song that I've been singing with Virginia in Portuguese. I'll sing to you and promise to translate a little piece, just so you feel it. Dê sorriso só, sorriso aberto, sorriso certo, cheio de amor. Quem tem Jesus gosta de cantar, vive sempre sorrindo, mesmo quando não dá. Tropeça aqui, oi, cai acolá, e depressa levanta e começa a cantar. It talks about giving a smile and singing, and if you have Jesus in your heart, you're going to be singing in spite of tripping, in spite of falling, you're going to quickly stand up and continue singing. And that's precisely what Jesus told in chapter 8 of the book Good News by Humberto de Campos to Bartholomew. Bartholomew, those who know of the good news feel the joy, the hope, and the courage. No longer uncertainty is in our minds, because I have the certainty that everything shall pass. I don't know when and I don't know how, but I know it will pass. And for that reason, hell disappears from my life. Because certainty will never, uncertainty, this extreme painful trials with the uncertainty that they will ever end will never happen to us, because it depends on our encoding. I will no longer encode the uncertainty, because I know that there is always another day, and that one day things are going to change. Okay? So now with André Luiz teaching us that we're co-creating our spiritual body. And if people ask, what do I do? Create health. Not in the physical. Integral health. Integral health is holistic, multidimensional. It doesn't think of the physical body alone. It's not materialistic. There are many people who are so materialistic that they only think about being healthy in the physical. It's a waste, because if you go deep to the mind, you're healing multidimensionally. That doesn't mean you're not going to eat well, you're not going to do hygiene, you're not going to exercise. We will, but that's not the end point of it all. It's just the means. And next time you go to the gym, work out your mind. Because many people, you know why many people don't want to go to the gym? They don't want to work out because they dissociate. They don't know what to do with the mind. And they keep thinking negatively. Next time you go to the gym, do affirmations, listen to positive things, and then mind and body are in synchronicity, and share with the new. Maybe one day somebody is going to start what we call affirmative exercises. Affirmative workout. I do weightlifting with affirmations, singing positive things, and then we will exercise, right? So now we know that we are co-creators at a lesser plane. We are co-creating our physiopsychosomatic body, which is our perispirit. We use this divine plasma to mold it. So we need to feel it. Are you feeling it? Yes. So one more information and we're going to wrap up for today, okay? The last information André Luiz gives in this chapter. He says to us, co-creation at our lesser plane. Civilizations that encompass the incarnate and discarnate civilizations of the world, agglutinations of short duration, and we create our hell or our heaven. At the end of the chapter, he turns to us and says the following. Final words. we must point out that in essence, all matter is energy made visible, and that all energy originally is divine force. That's where matter and spirit are unified. That we appropriate to bring our purposes to the purposes of the creation, whose laws keep us and honor the done goodness, while obliging us to transform the evil of our own authorship into the goodness that we must carry on, because the wellness of all is its eternal principle. Therefore, we observe that the cosmic fluid and divine plasma is the force of God in which we all live in a variety of angles of nature. This is the reason why it has been well said, "In God we move and exist," said Paul of Tarsus in Acts chapter 17, verse 28. So he quotes Paul of Tarsus, reminding us that we live in God and exist in God. My friends, feel the embrace of God. Huh? Smile, sing, be happy, be beautiful. Let us all do it. Tomorrow when we come back, we're going to be studying here. Okay? We're going to be studying the very part of chapter 2, which is all about the spiritual body. Since he told us about our co-creation as the spiritual body, and I will show the slide to you of the topics of tomorrow for your preparation, okay? So let me share the screen and show the final slide as the preparation for tomorrow. He says to us that we're going to study the portrait of the spiritual body, the vital centers, the crown chakra, the mental structure of the cells, the vital centers in the cells, the externalization of the vital centers, and the spiritual body after death. He's going to talk about spiritual surgeries that happen as we sleep. As we sleep. Okay? Talking about sleep, if you're going to sleep, have a beautiful night. If you're going to continue your day and listen to this on demand, continue your day knowing you're a co-creator, and let us co-create with love and surrender to this divine mind that gives us so much, the divine plasma. Shall we, friends? A big hug of gratitude, and until tomorrow, God willing,